Hey folks, it's Rithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to Farming Simulator 19 here on Ravenport. I'm going to press H right there, and that one is going to carry on and turn all of this field into neat and tidy rows. Now that we've taken the outside round off, it should be a lot neater and tidier. At least that's what I'm hoping. It's kind of the theory behind all of this. We've got that one still working away up in the field over there. You can just see it through there, actually. He's doing a wonderful job. And as soon as this is done, we can bale it up, and then we can get it all stacked and stored back. And then we've got all the hay that we could possibly want for quite some time to come. And then after that, we can deal with, well, other stuff. But we may as well do this. We may as well have this going and get a little bit of hay done, because we've got to wait while the planting is being done anyway, and then the grass should be all grown back, and possibly we'll do some straw as well once the new DLC hits. The Anderson group with all of the bale stuff, and some of that stuff looks absolutely phenomenal, absolutely brilliant, absolutely amazing. Really looking forward to getting my little paws onto that one. I think it is going to be awesome fun, and we'll be able to sort of have a little bit of a play around with that, I'm hoping. Now, are you going to do this properly, or are you going to sideswipe the pallets? No, you're going to do it properly. I'm very impressed. Have you noticed that every time we restart the game, it kind of changes the way the pallets are? I've noticed that. It seems to like pick a different one to start filling up. I'm not quite sure why it does that, but it does seem to be. Never mind, we won't worry about it too much. While this one is busy working, I was just wondering how much water, because these need water. They're pretty good for water. These need water. They could actually do with a bit. They've only got 1,700 litres of water, and this lot down here, they're good for water. So we just need a bit of water in the bottom one. I will just watch this run here and see how we get on. He shouldn't, in theory, try to turn round down here. He should go right up to the end of the field, but he might struggle with it because of where the edge of the everything is. Right, it'll get to there and then stop. Is he going to be able to do it? He is actually. He's going to go right past all of it without causing any issues. Go right up to there, spin round. This is going to be the next thing, is he's going to get up here again, and he's going to get hung up on this bit up here when he's trying to do the next turnaround. So he'll go to there, and then he'll stop, and then he'll drop that one down and make a very, very, very small row just down to there, and then we gather up all the rest of it. And we've got this rough patch right here that I'm seriously considering going over again so that we can tidy that up a bit. Although that time it went right through and gathered it all up beautifully. Right, well, seems to be going alright for a minute. We'll leave that one go. We'll let him carry on. He seems to be doing his thing now just fine, and he did his thing just fine up here as well, so he's stopping all the way back there and then turning, so he's kind of avoiding that one steep bit. So whether there's a steep bit cut-off point or something like that, you will go on round, and hopefully you will carry on doing the whole field, so that's good. And I want you. So we will unhitch that hay turner right there, just like that. Then we'll come out here and we'll get the water bowser. We will load up a little bit of water, and we'll do the sheep, and then we'll bring it back down, and we will top up the horses as well. And that'll keep the that's a little bit more for the horses, keep them running, keep them going. We want to put straw and hay in for them as well, although we need our loader tractor for the hay. That won't take too long, it'll be ready soon. Oh, I've actually got water in the bowser. I probably should have emptied this out before I came up here. Oops. Need to do that. I want to do that. Right. Load that one up. Where's our hay turner gone? It's gone over there, and well, I don't know if he climbed up the bank or not. He may have climbed up the bank. We didn't actually see it if he did. And then we've got that one over there on that side, and hopefully he will also be able to do a proper turn. There's our 7,300 litres. We'll just watch that one move a second. Make sure he's going to do all right. You're going to do all right. You're going to cope with this. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. He's backing up. I'm going to take that as a good sign. He's going to go round. He's going round. Still going round. Ooh, we might actually have some progress here. Look at this. Look at him go. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, that looks like it's going to be all right. So we'll run this one over this way. Now, the horses. We've got the second lot of horses pretty much full of water. Then the first lot of horses, they could do with a bit of water. And so could the sheep. We should have enough, actually, in this one water bowser here to go and do water for all of the horses. Thinking about it. So we'll start at this side. We'll unload a little bit into there. Didn't need very much at all. Then we'll carry on round. Just keep running on round the horses all the way round this way. And we'll go up past the wash pad. And we'll go up towards where the sheep are. We'll drop a little bit of water in for them. And then we'll swing on round again. And we'll bring it back down. And we'll drop the last bit of water in for the other pen of horses. In one... just one little round all the way round. There. So we can back you up a bit. Put a little bit of water into there. It shouldn't need too much for the sheep, he says. We've still got 4.5 ton of water on board, so that should be enough, I'm hoping. Run you back around here. Nice sedate pace this is, isn't it? It's not like herring around the yard like a lunatic or anything like that. We'll bring you back down to there, and that'll be the last little bit. There's one more thing that I'd like to do, actually. There's one thing that I'd like to go and do in a minute. Let's just get you unloading there. That is... right, that's all of the water that we want in there. I'm going to stop you. I'm just going to leave you there. We do need to go and do that other in a minute. But there's one thing I wanted to do first. I want to go to landscaping here, right? And we've got a brush. We've got the brush size. I want to bring that onto there. Now, I did say I wasn't going to be doing any more landscaping, but I'm doing a very particular type of landscaping here. So we've got that's gravel, I think, right there. Or is it? Mud, grass, grass. That's gravel. There. What I'd like to do is I'd actually like to put a gravel patch, and I'm going to put that. You got these water bowls here. There's a water bowl. Those are feed dishes there. I'm going to put a patch of gravel down in the corner of the chicken pens, like that, around one of the water bowls. And I'm going to put a gravel patch around each of the chicken pens, like that, because they need the gravel. They need it, and we don't have enough in there. So I just wanted to put one little patch of gravel into each of the chicken pens, like that, so that they've got their gravel for, it helps their digestion and stuff. If you stop there a minute, hang on, oh, H is the one we want to press, and, wait a minute, right, bring you out this way, I'll stop you there, right, I'll do that. Now, we do have these bits down here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to drive this one straight down through. Yes, the rows aren't that good. They're going to be quite sort of humped up in places. Most of it will be alright. And we'll just run that piece down to there and then stop. And then I'll bring you back over this way. Actually, I'm just going to run up here. It's not a good idea to go running across the rows. If you can at all help it. If you've got any say in the matter, don't run across the rows. It's never a good idea. So we'll spin round and we'll come back up like this. And start that one off. I'm not going to put the hired help going on this little bit up here. We'll do this bit manually. I'll run up through there and then I will... actually, I'm just wondering which way I should do this. Because we haven't got that much that we're going to need to just tidy up on the end of this one. Because the rest of it, because we're doing it manually, it should work out alright. We do have a little bit of a run. I'm just going to turn the corner from here, look. I'm just going to do it like this. I know it's a little bit odd. Probably not the best way to do it. And if I get down to there, I can lift that up. Like that. Bring you back up round this way. And I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to drop it here, look. Like that. Oops. Why didn't you... Oh! Lowered it down because it's got the front weight selected. That wasn't quite part of the master plan. I must have pressed the wrong... I think I did. I think I pressed the wrong button. Right, so if I do it like that, that's kind of straightening up the other bit. And I can run that up to there like that. And then I can bring you out round. Go to here. There we go. Look at that. Now I've got it all neat and tidy. And tidy and neat. And we've got a couple of passes just to do this little triangle bit. And then we can go and get the baler and we can start on that. So I'll bring you up through there. And as soon as we've got these done, we'll then be able to do a bit more fast forwarding in time so that we can get more eggs and more wool and more stuff to sell. And then we can keep on making our fortune and make our fortune. I'd like very much to be able to go and buy the land. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to buy the land. I was considering buying more chickens, but I don't think I will. We've already got that all set up, and it's kind of ready to roll now. So the next thing that we want is the more land up the top. We need that so that we can get more crops growing. And as soon as we've got the land, obviously the first major task that we'll want to do with it is to start doing some ploughing to extend the field out as much as we can and get it ready for joining in the next field. I'd like at least 2 fields to start with. If we can afford to get 2 fields, if we can increase our loan a bit more and get 2 fields along, I don't know if we can. I think we probably can. We're on easy mode. We seem to have unlimited loan just about with easy mode. We'll bring that one up like that. Okay, we're all done there. Let's fold you up. I'm not going to bother washing this one. We've hardly done any work with it at all. So we'll just run straight back down and we can get the baler. Before I actually start the baling, though, we will hop over and finish doing all of the planting. There's only a little bit to go. And I should then be able to go back, get the fertilizer spinner on once more, and finish doing the fertilizer spreading. So bring you over this way. Now, I'm going to put the rake in front of the hay turner. I'm going to drop you in there, like that. So bring you around there, like that. Bring you round. There we go. Right. Going to drop you right there. So that's that one done. We're going to want to go and do the baling in a minute, but we will pause there a second. We will go and get you. And we can finish off this. And as always, it's left a bit of a mess. It always seems to leave a bit of a mess on the field. But I mean, we've got just the right amount of seed to do this field. That's brilliant. That's ideal. That's what we want. One thing that we will be getting, so that we don't have to keep messing around with loads of pallets from the shop and that, I'd like to get the placeables down here now so that we can just buy the seed direct at the farm. It's a lot easier, it's a lot faster, and I do believe that it's quite realistic. Having a big seed storage tank or fertilizer storage tank on a farm, loads of farms that do that. Yes, the one issue that I do still have with Farming Simulator, and I know a lot of other people would really love to see the change as well, is separate seed for separate crops. I can understand why they don't, because it would make it unnecessarily complicated, having to separate out all of the different seeds for the different crops, and it's just easier to go for a blanket seed rather than lots and lots of different types of seed. But it would be something that would be quite cool to see if there was... I mean, I guess you'd need like an additional storage for it or something like that. You could do it with pallets. You could have like seed storage pallets like we've got right now, but instead of seed, you'd have to have wheat seed or barley seed or canola seed, beans, and so on and so forth. So you get where I'm coming from with this, but... I don't know. I think really you'd want a mod that would separate them all out. So you still got to buy each of the individual seeds, and you've got to empty out your seed drill as well. You don't just select the seed that you want to plant. You've got to empty out your seed drill, and then you've got to load in the barley seed, or you've got to load in the oats, and so on and so forth. So in the comment section, is there anybody else that would like to see that? What is your particular views and opinions on seeing loads of different types of seeds in the game? Do you think this would be a beneficial thing, or do you think there's no real need for it? Because I know that there's going to be arguments for and against. Personally, I think that the easy mode, you just have seed, and then when you go to hard mode, you have separate types of seeds. And easy mode, you require one layer of fertilizer across your field, and then you go to hard mode and you require the 2 layers of fertilizer, or even 3 lots of fertilizer, and it has to be put in at different stages. I mean, yeah, the fertilizer's already put in at different stages, so I suppose that would be acceptable. Sort of leave the mechanic roughly as it is, but bring back the 3 lots of fertilizer. Hard mode, you could say ploughing is required after so many harvests, like they used to have it after so many harvests. Now they've changed it so that you only need it after set crops. And thus, well, it does depend where you are in the world. Some places in the world you actually need to plough after so many harvests. Other places in the world, you don't need to plough after so many harvests, but you do need to... you know what? We ought to move that combine. Let's move the combine out of the way a minute, because that one really is in the way. If you have so many harvests... There we go. And then you need to actually... You do need to plough the ground, because your ground is not able to be constantly direct drilled without having some sort of ploughing and soil working, because it ends up that the ground becomes it starts to get compacted. You start to get subsoil compaction, and this is not something that you want. So ploughing and working the land a bit does make a difference, but you don't need that everywhere. You don't need that with all soil types. It does depend on the environment, on the soil type, and I say the environment, it's like the weather does have an impact, because if you've got a lot of rainfall, I understand that can also contribute towards subsoil compaction. I'm not sure how it works. I don't really know why, but there's some places in the world the compaction in the ground is much more of a concern than it is in other parts of the world. Some places you can just do a little scratch in the surface and direct drill every year after year after year after year, without any worries whatsoever. And in other places in the world, that's just not an option, right? You can't do that. You've got to take a little bit of time to work the soil every couple of seasons, or you end up with massive compaction issues and not being able to grow anything, ever. Right, it would help if we could drive. I say ever. But I don't know a huge amount about this, because it's been several years since I was farming, and the farming that I was involved with... Right, why are you slowing down so much? The farming that I was involved with didn't involve, for the most part, doing direct drilling. I only worked on a farm that direct drilled for a couple of seasons. So I can go on what I learned while I was there, but there's obviously a huge amount that I didn't learn, and this was several years ago. So we know a lot more about the consequences of long-term direct drilling now than we used to. And I know that in the States, direct drilling is much more of a thing. You might cultivate the land a little bit. You use a chisel plow, which is altogether different to the type of plowing that we often use here in Europe, where we do moldboard plowing and completely turn the ground over. We don't just sort of scratch the surface a bit. So there's all these different approaches to it. So I don't really know all that much about how how much the deep compaction is affected by the weather and things like that is only what I've read, and I've not read into it a great deal. I haven't. It's not something I've studied a lot. I've just I'm aware that it can be an issue, and I'm aware that there, different parts of the world have this issue more than others. Beyond that, I don't know a huge amount about it. So, I mean, if people can fill me in, that'd be absolutely great. Does the weather, like if you have a typically higher rainfall, are you going to be more prone to deep soil compaction? Are you going to need more regular ploughing and not do direct drilling on a regular basis? Is it affected? Does the weather affect it at all? Is it just down to soil types? Because I am pretty certain that soil types do affect it. If you've got like a really heavy clay soil, you are going to need to plough much more than if you've got a really light loam soil or a sandy soil. That can also, I believe, be a much easier one to cope with. Right, we'll bring that up round there. We'll do the little bit at the top at the end, and we'll go and do these longer runs down the bottom first. Bring this one all the way along here. Actually, I've got that one run goes right along the top, doesn't it? Oh, never mind. We'll do that bit at the end. We'll just cut out onto this run that's going down in front of those few lines there. Then we can bale up the rest of this. We're not going to be very long doing our baling, no, are we? I mean, let's be honest. It's not going to take very long to do all of this. Just bring that one in round there. Down we go. If I brake sharply like that, and we back up, what are we looking at? If I go up that one. Right, I think I want to take that one, and that'll take most of the field in one fell swoop. We've got a little bit of a line right there that was missed by our hired help. We may have to have a little chat with him about how well he's been performing of late. Let's bring that up through there. I like trying to get it like this so that you can sort of see the baler. This is why I'd like hired help to be able to do this, to go along and I know that you can do it with course play. If you set the course up right, you can actually do this with course play, and it's something that I will be looking at in the future. But to be able to set the hired help up to do this would be absolutely great, because you could just sort of zoom in like this, and then you can watch it working and picking stuff up with the baler. That would be absolutely awesome. I was hoping that it would be in this version of FS19, in this version of FS, in this version of Farming Simulator, but unfortunately it wasn't. So maybe in the next one we will have hired help that is able to be sent off to do all the jobs. That would be absolutely wonderful, in my opinion. If we could just send a hired help out, say, "Oi, John, I want you to head out that field today. I want you to bale it up. Right, that's your only task for today. Now head out there, bale up that field. Don't worry about any of the rest of it. That's all you got to do. Okay, counting on you. Counting on you to do this right." And then John, he'll go running off, and he'll hop into the tractor, and off he'll trot. And he will go and do that job for you. All because you've told him that you've got complete faith in him, and you've given him a trusted job to go and do. And your trust and faith in him will be well placed. Obviously, if you mistreat your employees, they will in turn mistreat the machinery and not do a very good job. Although, yeah, that's kind of, we're heading more into that would less farming sim and more The Sims, and I'm not sure that's the game we want, really. Well, this is a farming simulator. We're not after The Sims. We're after just Farming Simulator. Although The Sims could be rather interesting combined with this game. Actually, that could be pretty cool. That could be quite interesting. We all know it's heading that way, don't we? I mean, let's be honest here. We all know that all the simulator games that keep coming out, like they're generally improving over time. We've got all these different types coming out. We've got Junkyard Simulator coming out fairly soon. We've got the Tank Mechanic Simulator. The Junkyard Mechanic Simulator that's coming out. Junkyard Simulator. That one, is that the one that's got it? Might not be that one. It might be a different one. Is it Diesel Brothers? Not sure, but you build the car essentially using a lot of the mechanics that we see in the likes of Car Mechanic Simulator, Plane Mechanic Simulator, that sort of thing. You're building your car out of all the different bits. Tank Mechanic Simulator. A lot of the same mechanics being used there. And then it's added to by having races as well. So you've got like a driving simulator, racing simulator thrown into the mix on top of it, which is absolutely fantastic. And the more time goes on, the more games blending one into the other. We're getting more and more mixes of games. Yes, you've still got all the specialist games, right? You've got a specialist racing game, which is, they go for absolute realism. Realism in handling, realism in graphics, and it's just realism all the way round, which are absolutely fantastic. But the other games, the sort of the in-between games, the ones that aren't these absolute top-end ones, there's so much stuff coming out of them. There's so many ideas coming out of them. There's so much more interaction. And even just in the few years that I've been doing YouTube, we've seen so many jumps forward. If you go back a couple of versions of Car Mechanic Simulator, and you see what you got there compared to the current one, which is actually the one that was released at the beginning of last year, and then you look at the new games that are coming out that are using a lot of the similar mechanics to Car Mechanic Simulator, and you're sort of thinking, well, honestly, that these games are all starting to blur together. And yes, I've sort of read reports about these games all over that, you know, that they all seem fairly similar. They've got like a unique idea that's entertaining for a few hours worth of gameplay, and then it gets kind of boring. And yeah, I'm quite happy to admit that. It seems to be like you've got all these different sections of a super game that could then eventually be, but they're slowly all coming together. And eventually, you're just going to have this massive, great big game. And you'll have 3 games to choose from. You'll have a first-person shooter game to choose from. You'll have a massive open-world RPG that's got every element of survival-type gameplay, fantasy gameplay, and it's all sort of blended in together. And then you'll have, like, simulator that will literally simulate everything. So we could have Thief Simulator, Farming Simulator, Euro Truck, Cooking Simulator, all of it all blended in together, right? We go out and we farm, and then we take our animals off to the slaughterhouse, and you bring back, and you've got some nice choice cuts of lamb, and you've got vegetables that you've grown in your garden, and then you use the Cooking Simulator mechanics in your kitchen to cook up a decent meal. And that decent meal gives you a decent kind of buff that you then use for increased productivity on your farm, and you can go longer hours, that sort of thing. And you can also sort of take this off into the massive, great big RPG game that you play. And, you know, if RPGs are your sort of thing, you got the Cooking Simulator bit that you can do, or you can pay a servant to go and cook for you if you want to. If you want to skip that bit out, you just pay someone else to do it. And then you cook your sweet rolls, right? Everybody that's ever played Skyrim, you know exactly what I mean. You can cook your own sweet rolls, and you have to make you have to get all the ingredients, you have to go and grow them in your garden, and then you cook your own sweet rolls, and you can carry them with you. You got much more in the way of survival elements in order to be able to stay alive, and yeah, and eventually I can see it all sort of blending together into one great big game, just a game. If you Ready Player One, is it Ready Player One? Is it? Yeah, I think it's Ready Player One. You know the massive great big virtual reality game. Where everybody is all trying to get the ultimate Easter egg so they own the whole game. It's that. That's what we're working towards. You've got different worlds that you can go to, but that's essentially what we're heading towards. You can spend your time playing Candy Crush in that game. You can spend your time doing Farming Simulator. You can, and you go from sort of one to the other. Although that still sort of seems to be separate games inside the game. You've got racing that you can go and do, but then you work on the car elsewhere. Right, there is that bit to it. You do work on the car elsewhere. You want to go and do racing, that's fine. You can go into the car mechanic bit and you can build your own racing car. And then you take that racing car that you built in the car mechanic section and you take it over to the racing section and you go and race your car. And if you trash your car, if you total your car out on the racetrack, too bad, sunshine. That's the end of your car. It's game over. That's your car done, totaled. You've then got to go and get yourself another car and build another one or buy another one if you can't be bothered with the actual building. So you've kind of got all of these things all rolled in together, and I think that's where we're heading. And I honestly don't think it's going to be that long before we get much more interactive and much more realistic with our games. And, you know, I know that people talk about this and say, how cool would it be if we could do this, this, and this. I don't think it's going to be that long. The rate that games are progressing and the VR stuff is starting to get better and better now. I don't think it's going to be very long before we are looking at a full Ready Player One type scenario. My only problem is the whole full interaction thing with the VR. Running around inside the virtual reality, that's going to be a lot of work, right? That's going to be exhausting. If you're actually running inside the VR and you've got to be running outside in real life as well, yeah, it's true that the exercise will probably do us all good, but let's be honest, that's going to be utterly exhausting. I'd rather do the other option, which is the nanobots type approach to it, you know, where you have an injection of nanobots and they go on the input-output nerve receptors from your brain and override what you can see and hear and feel and taste and touch. So it's kind of, it overrides your nervous system. This is the idea, and this is an idea that was put forward several years ago that I've read a little bit about, and they do think that it's something that will happen. Just how long it will take, we don't know. You essentially, you take this injection or you drink them down, these nanobots, and I know I've talked about this before. This is for those people who haven't heard about it before. And these, essentially, they will put themselves on your optic nerves and your into your ears and all down your spinal cord. And when your brain sends out an impulse to move, lift your arm, the nanobots override that impulse and stop your actual physical arm from moving. And what they do is they send a signal back to the PC and tell your character that's inside the virtual world you've raised your arm. So it's literally, you are in the world and you're moving like you would in the real world, but you're not actually moving in the real world. You are just moving in the game. And it does the same with your legs and stuff. But also, if you get shot or if you get, you know, burned or something in the game, the nanobots will give feedback to your central nervous system to say you've been hurt. And obviously, it would be entirely up to you to dial up or down exactly how much pain, how much sensation you get altogether. So, like, if you pick up a roll, do you... Okay, I can't run off with the pressure washer. If you pick up a bread roll, how much of it do you feel? Do you just feel like you've got an object in your hand, or can you feel all the textures of that bread roll, feel the flour on your fingertips, that sort of thing? I mean, how far do you take this? How far would you want to take this? It's actually really, really cool, and the more you think about it, the more it sort of, it opens up all kinds of possibilities for just what might happen in the future. And I love this idea. I really do. This full interactive... right, we press tab. We go through each of these. I'm not allowed to repair that. It's not repair-worthy yet. How much would you want it to do? Like, how interactive do you want it to get? And how long before it gets that fully interactive? I mean, we've got headsets, and I think the whole Ready Player One thing... We could be seeing stuff like that in as little as 10 years. We could be having these full interactive worlds like that in as little as 10 years. Some of the other stuff, I think, is naturally going to take longer. The whole nanobot situation, that, I think, is going to be longer. But, I mean, in 20 years' time, we could be seeing that as well. Mainly because, I was reading about this, that whole idea with the nanobots and sort of working with the VR technology and that, one of the reasons that is already being developed is for medical reasons, for medical purposes. And it's got some quite good, positive medical reasons for wanting to be developed. People want to develop it for... I'm not exactly sure what it is and how it would help, but it's to do with people who... have spinal injuries and things like that, and if it can be used for virtual reality, could it be used elsewhere as well? If you've got these nanobots overriding the central nervous system, could they be used to send signals to each other and so bypass damage that's been done to certain areas of the central nervous system? And that's kind of the big thing, but the two would literally go hand in hand. If the gaming industry develops a way to do it, then the medical industry is going to be very keenly watching it, and vice versa. So it may not actually be that long before we see something that's pretty much completely 100% out of pure science fiction becoming a reality, which I think would be just incredible. I really do. The idea of being able to do that, the idea of that particular bit of virtual reality, that has always excited me. The whole idea, that the premise of what I just described, that just the even remote possibility that I would be able to try something like that in my lifetime would be incredible. It would be absolutely amazing. I like VR, I do. The only VR I've tried, though, the graphics weren't very good, because the little headsets, the graphics just aren't very good on them. And I know that they're improving, and they're improving pretty rapidly as well. But yeah, to be able to have the kind of scenario that I've just described, that would be incredible. That would be absolutely amazing. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine like being plugged into a full VR world where you're running around, and as you... The other thing, like, go with the fantasy world, for example. Let's just ignore the tractors and stuff like that, because we all know how those work. But if you go with a fantasy world and you're casting magic, you're having to learn how to cast the magic. You're having to learn how to cast the magic spells. But also, you're running around and you're fighting. Now, we all know that your default position when you're moving around, your default kind of speed when you're moving around is a slow trot. When you're running around in a fantasy world. But you've only got so much stamina, and that would be another thing. Like, these bots would be able to override what your body itself is physically doing, and your stamina in the game sort of dictates how much you can run, and you would physically feel out of breath in the game. And as you leveled up, as your stamina increased, so would your physical abilities. So you wouldn't feel out of breath quite so quickly. And you literally, like, it's like GTA. You remember, not everybody would have played it, but in GTA, you go to the gym, and in order to be able to get more stamina, in order to be able to run for longer periods of time and to get stronger, you go to the gym and you work out. Imagine having to actually do that in a game. It doesn't affect you in real life, but imagine having to go and do that in a game and spend, say, 5 minutes working out in the gym in order to be able to improve your stamina a little bit so that you could run a bit further, a bit harder, and a bit faster. Or just like in a fantasy game, the more you run around, obviously the more it builds up your stamina for it. And so you get rewarded for that by being able to run further and faster. That would just be an incredible thing. Like, you think about that and you sort of think, yeah, you get into a game when you first start a game, and you would physically feel out of breath. You run around, you physically end up feeling out of breath. You can't run anymore. You're out of breath because you're really unfit, because you're a level 1 character. And then you go like we'll keep going with the whole Skyrim thing. You got your character up to like level 50, and you've done really well with your level 50 character. You think, yep, this is absolutely great. But then you decide you're going to go and re-roll, and you for once you're not going to play a stealth archer. We all know that you'll end up playing a stealth archer regardless, but you have noble intentions to start with. And so you go and re-roll the character, and you're used to being able to race around and sneak without being seen, things like that, and then suddenly you've re-rolled and now you can't sneak. You feel clumsy, and you're used to walking around and being sort of this person that can blend with the shadows really easily, and you have no issues with it. And then suddenly you're this clumsy oaf that can't blend with the shadows at all, and you remember being able to do it, but you find yourself not actually being able to put it into practice properly because you're really out of practice. It's kind of like, and they say that you always you remember how to ride a bike, but there are things that you remember being able to do properly, like with when you rode a bike when you were younger, you could go over jumps and stuff, and then when you try and get on a bike when you're older and you try and do it, you can't quite remember how to do it properly, and you feel clumsy on the bike, and it doesn't quite come as naturally, and you've got to take a while to remember how you used to do it. And that would be the same sensation that you would get in a game, and it would be very, very weird, but also extremely cool to be able to have that kind of sensation as you start a new game. I would so love that. I really would. Right, we have just about run out of time for today's episode. I put those down there like that because when you're using an artisan stacker, it's not very often in real life, or at least it used to be, that you'd go for a full load on the first trailer load. You put like a half load or a three-quarter load, and then you back the next one right up to it and leave it on there. So that you just make a decent stack all the way around, and it becomes more stable as well. You've got a proper stable stack. So I put 10 on the first one. I'm now going to go up through, and I'm going to get the remaining, well, there's only 5 more to get now. So we get a full 16, and we'll back those up to the first 10 that we dropped down there. And I'm hoping then that when we come to take the bales away, we're not going to have them all falling over. So we want 3 more bales now. We want that one, and then I'm going to skip that one. And I'm going to take these 2 over here, like this. So we will take 15 and 16 right there. The fertilizer is just about done up in that field. He's doing crazy stuff again. Yeah. Let's go and see what he's doing. He's definitely doing crazy stuff. Quite sure what he's doing, but he's crazy nonetheless. If we just finish this bit off here, then we'll go and get those bales and we will tip them out, and that will be all we've got time for today. We'll just do that. We're going very slow, 8 miles an hour. I think the fertilizer spinner needs repairing, actually. I think we could do with servicing the fertilizer spinner, so we'll go and do that as well. I'll run down here. Put you over there so that we get that little bit of a stripe. And that bit right there. The fertilizer spinner does need some other work on it as well, but we're not going to worry about that. No, all I want to do at the moment is I just want to stop right there, climb off, and go through a full service. So, repair that one. Yes. Right, well, it's not tabbing through. It should. Why aren't you tabbing through? You should be tabbing through. Jump down there. Try that again. Tab. Ah, there we go. Right, repair that one. Yes. And that one, there we go. Look, see? Condition all the way down to the bottom. Yes. Right. Perfect. That's all done. I'll shut you off a minute. I don't want you anymore for now. Let's go to you. Right, we've got our 16 bales right here. So, yes, I'd very much like to hear your views and opinions on the whole virtual reality type gaming thing. What do you think? Do you think that would be a very cool type situation to be in? Is this the virtual reality thing like that? I'm pretty sure the film I'm thinking of is Ready Player One. Love that film. if that's the one that I'm thinking it is. You know, the big virtual reality thing. If it's not, then tell me what the actual film is in the comment section. But I am pretty sure I've got the right one. But what do you think? Is this something that you also want to be a part of, or is that not really your cup of tea, do you think? Do you think you'd rather just keep gaming as it is? I know some people don't like the idea of VR, and the more realistic the VR becomes, the more concerned some people are about it. And I do understand concerns about VR, about it, you know, the increasing difficulty of being able to separate the VR from actual reality. And I do understand those concerns. It's just that I don't particularly have them myself. I do think that you'd be able to separate the two. Although you've got that that film that had Jude Law in it, a few years old now. Existence. Spelt with a Z on the end. That's definitely worth a watch. But anyway, that's all I got time for. So if you've enjoyed the episode, then please hit down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.